Alright, so this video is going to cover Chapter 11 of Groundworks for a better vocabulary. If you want to follow along in your book, you can open up to page 86. So here's the words. Let me just go ahead and read through them and we can try to make guesses on parts of speech. So the first one is assume, conscious, external, incredible, the clue there should be the IBLE, internal, maximum, protest, remedy, spectacle, and verdict. So the only one that really has a clue as to the part of speech is incredible. So let's go through these. Alright, so our first one here is assume. And this one is a verb. So I assumed George was telling the truth, but he wasn't. We assumed the sun would shine during the outdoor wedding. What a mistake! When it comes to weather, one must not take anything for granted. So assume means to believe, but it doesn't just mean to believe. So for example, we can say I believe in God, but you can't say I assume in God. But assume really means that you believe that something is true, that some event is true or some action is going to happen. So assume is more about you believe something about the future. On page 87 it says to suppose to be true or to take for granted. The other thing about assuming is you're assuming something is true without proof. Without proof that it is true. So in the first one, if you assume that he's telling the truth, you don't have any proof that he's telling the truth. It's just that's what you think. In the second one, if you're assuming that the weather is going to be good, it means that you haven't looked at the forecast. It means you're just guessing. You think it's true, but you don't have any facts to back up what you believe. Okay? Moving on to the next one, this is conscious. This one's an adjective, and it is, let me read the sentences, sorry. I don't think Jim is conscious that he will sometimes seem very rude, otherwise he wouldn't be so ill-mannered. As Arlene gave her speech to the class, she was conscious that people were whispering in the back of the room. So conscious means to be aware of something. But conscious really means, you may have heard the word unconscious. Unconscious is usually used to describe what happens to you. Like when you're asleep, you're unconscious, meaning that you're not aware. Or if you get hit really hard in the head, you might be knocked unconscious, meaning that you're not aware of the things going on around you. So conscious is number 3 on page 87. It means aware of something or noticing that something is happening. So conscious really means that you're aware or you're paying attention to the things that are happening around you. Conscious also, we can think of being awake, but being awake and also being aware of what are the things that are happening around you. Okay? Because there's sometimes you can be awake but not really conscious because you're not paying attention to what's going on around you. Moving on, our next one here is external, and this is an adjective. The external appearances of the two houses were similar, but on the inside the homes differed quite a bit. When my grandmother first came to America, she was given her very first orange. Since no one had told her to remove its external layer, she began to eat the peel. So external means outer. On page 87, it's number 4, outer or located outside. So external, when we're talking about something external, we're really talking about the thing that is on the outside, the thing that you can see that covers something. So the external part of our bodies, for example, is our skin. In the second sentence, the external part of an orange is the peel. We call the peel of it. The external part of a building, are the walls. So external is just talking about what's on the outside of something, not what's on the inside, which we'll get to in just a second. Pardon me. All right, so here's our next one. This is incredible, and this one is also an adjective. Um, the moon landing in 1969 was an incredible achievement. It's incredible that a cat could survive 43 days locked in a crate without food or water, and yet this has happened. So what incredible means is it means it's hard to believe. Something that is incredible is really something that it's almost impossible for you to believe that it's true. One of the words that's not actually in this book, but is in one of the later books, is the word credible, which is the same related to this word, but it doesn't have in front of it. What credible means is believable, that you can believe it. So in is a prefix, which means not. So incredible means that you can't believe it. Now, we use this not to mean literally you can't believe it, but really we use it to mean that it's very difficult to believe, or that we often use it for things that are amazing. I'm a fan of comic books, and one of the comic books is The Incredible Hulk. The Hulk is the green monster who can do things that are absolutely amazing. Okay, moving on to the next one, internal. Now this one is also an adjective. The car looks terrific, so you'd never guess that some of its internal parts, the motor, brakes, and heater, need major repair. A pork roast may not be safe to eat, even if it looks cooked on the outside. It must have an internal temperature of at least 160 degrees. So internal means the inside. So a pork roast means if you're cooking pork or pig. This is the same sort of thing that's true with chicken, right? If the outside of the chicken looks okay, you really have to look on the inside, because if it's pink on the inside, it's not safe to eat. So the other word we already had here was external, which is just talking about what's on the outside. Internal is focusing on what is in the inside. It's a number 9 on page 87, located on the inside. So internal, we can talk about, physically the things that are on the inside. So we said the external part of our body is our skin. Some of the internal parts of our body are, our heart, our lungs, our stomach. Those sort of things are internal. But we can also, when we talk about external and internal in terms of people, when we talk about external, it's the way that people behave with other people, the things that they say, the way that they act. But internal would be, how do they actually feel? What do they actually think? So oftentimes, what you see on the external part that you see is not the same as the internal part that a person often believes. And a lot of times we have to do this ourselves, where we're in a situation where we may feel very differently than the way that we're actually acting. Here's our next one, which is maximum. And this one, again, is an adjective. We have lots of adjectives in this chapter. The safety sign in the elevator warned, "Caution, maximum load 1,500 pounds. 300 miles per hour is the maximum speed for this airplane. It can go no faster." So maximum in this case the greatest. On page 87, it's number 10, the most, the highest, the largest. So I forget if we already have this word or we'll have it later, but we have the word minimum, and minimum means the very lowest, the very least. So maximum is the opposite of minimum. A maximum, maximum means as great or high or intense as possible, or permitted. So maximum can be the most that is allowed. So for example, on the elevator, if you shouldn't have more than 1,500 pounds, it's not allowed, maybe because the elevator will break. In the picture there, right, the maximum clearance means you can't have a car taller than that, because probably otherwise it's going to hit something in the parking or garage. fit. So it can be what it's allowed, or it can also be what it can do. So in the second example, we have the plane. The maximum speed is 300 miles an hour, meaning that it can't go any faster. I mean, it may be allowed to go faster, but it physically can't go any faster. So our next word here is protest, and we are finally getting to a verb, getting away from the adjectives. Stop it, Billy's mother protested. You can't pour blue food coloring into the mashed potatoes. When the builder announced plans to pack 100 homes into a 10-acre farm, a group called Protect Our Open Spaces showed up in protest. So protest means to complain, but it really means more than just to complain. On page 87, it's number 5, means to complain or express that dissatisfaction, but protest really means that you're complaining with the hope of stopping something. You're complaining about something that you dislike, but the reason why you're complaining about it is because you want it to stop. Yeah, so oftentimes when you're protesting, it's because you can't actually do anything to stop it. Meaning, the only thing that you can do is say, "Please stop! Please stop! Please stop!" You can't physically stop it, or you don't have the power to make it stop. So, for example, right now we're in an election year, and there's often protests at election events where people go up and they just say, they say things against the candidate who's speaking. They don't have the power to stop the candidate, but they're just voicing their opinion because they want something to change. Okay? So our next one here is remedy, and this one is a noun. Grandma's remedy for a cold was to wear garlic around her neck. It never cured her cold, but at least no one came close enough to catch it. There's no quick remedy for a broken heart. Only time will heal it. So what remedy is it's a treatment. On page 87, it's number 1, a cure or something that heals. So a remedy is a kind of medicine or a treatment it can be for a disease or an illness. So in the first one, we're talking about, having a cold, the way that you try and fix the cold or cure the cold. But it can also be a treatment for something emotional. So like in the second one, a broken heart means that you love someone and that person left you, or you left that person, or whatever. But it's not a physical or a sickness, but it's a pain. And in this case, it's saying there's no quick remedy. The only remedy is time. You just have to let time pass, and that will help you. That will help things to get better. So again, remedy is a way of treating some sort of problem, trying to fix it or make it better. Okay, our next one here is spectacle, and this one is a noun. Circuses are filled with spectacles. From chimpanzees riding bicycles to elephants wearing party hats. During her temper tantrum in the supermarket, the crying little girl made a spectacle of herself by lying down in the middle of the checkout lane and refusing to get up. So a spectacle means an unusual sight. On page 87, it's number 6. So it says a surprising or unusual sight, a public display or scene. So a spectacle really means it's something. The important thing first is that it's something that you see, right? So it's something that is seen by other people, which means that it's in public, meaning that the people who are seeing it are not just people who know. Not just people who know the person who's behaving badly or whatever, but strangers. Okay, so the first part is that it's in public, but the second part is that it's unusual either in a positive way or a negative way. Okay, so in a positive way, it would be it's amazing. So circuses, we say these are spectacles because the things that you see in a circus are things that are unusual. You won't see them every day, but they can be really amazing. So in this case, it's, you know, monkeys riding on bicycles. Most of us don't see that day to day. Okay, but it's pretty amazing. But it can also be, you know, like uh, the acrobats, you know, the people who are swinging back and forth and doing flips and stuff. These are things that we don't see every day. Um, but a spectacle can also be a negative thing. So in the second example, you know, if a little girl or a little boy, you know, is crying in the supermarket in front of everyone, you know, hopefully that's not something that we see, you know, every day. But it draws everybody's attention to it. Okay, so the thing to keep in mind about this one is really that it's something that you see, right? It's something that you see and something that you want to look at, either because it's really amazing, it's really incredible, or because it's really inappropriate and strange. Okay, and here is our last word, which is verdict. And verdict is a noun. Um, the mechanic's verdict, the mechanic's verdict was the car was too badly damaged to fix. In only 90 minutes, the jury members reached their verdict. They found the defendant guilty. So what verdict means is a decision. On page 87 it says a decision or judgment. So a verdict is not just, is normally we think of it as a decision that is made not just right away, but after, we'd say, deliberation or after thinking about it. And normally it's a decision that's made by someone who is who's qualified to make the decision about it. So in the first example, the mechanic is the one who knows how to fix cars. So her decision or his decision, you know, is going to be, you know, a professional decision. In the second one, the jury members, these are the people in a trial who listen to the case and then they talk about it and then they make a decision, right? So a verdict is not, you know, for example, if I ask you, where do you want to go out to dinner tonight, you wouldn't say, my verdict is, let's go to Chipotle's, because that's not something that you, probably that you've thought a lot about. It's just a decision you made quickly. But a verdict would be more of a decision that you would make after thinking about it for a while and coming to a final decision. Okay. All right. So what you're going to want to do is do the online activities and also do the questions, and you'll get a chance to bring your questions to class and we can discuss those in class. All right. Take care. Bye.